Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Business Talk Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Talking Heads is a platform for experts from around the world to come and share their expertise, their knowledge, and their success with our audience to help us be better personally or professionally. Today's talking head is a dear friend. He's my book coach. He is an expert in so many areas. He's already had one series of talking heads of 6 episodes on longevity. And this is his next series, which is about helping first-time authors. He is a co-host here on our platform. Obviously, he's an expert talking head, and he's an elevated listener. Let's welcome to the program, Red O'Loughlin. Hi, Red.
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. Good to see you again today. And you got a wonderful smile, as always. I meant to mention that I meant to say that last time too, but somehow we just got jumped right into the show. And regardless, you have a great smile today, Doctor.
Thank you very much. As do you. I'm excited for this presentation. As you know, I have a second book coming out, and I'm always interested in learning new things. So I'm going to spotlight you, and I'll be backstage running the production. I'll come back after you're finished.
Thank you so very much. Our topic is how to write your book and publish it for free. And by free, we mean no money out of your pocket. Obviously, your time is valuable, but we're talking about monetary. The dollars you're not going to pay. This is session number 3. It's called Titles and More. We've talked about author research. We've talked about some things just in general. We're going to jump back into that a little bit today, but we're going to just jump into the slideshow now and kind of go from there. There'll be a couple little show and tell things as we go. So, Doctor, if you would start with the first slide. There we go. And titles and more. Titles, the things we're going to talk about today, do they matter? We're talking a little bit about best-selling titles. Then we're going to jump into what restrictions does Amazon have? There are things called title generators, and we're going to look at a couple. And then we're going to talk about the actual titles themselves, then jump into the covers, and then we're going to end up with size. So let's go to the first one. Do they matter? What about a book interests you? Let's say you walk into a bookstore, whether it's a mom and pop bookstore or Barnes and Noble or Books A Million, and you're walking by and they have this little display out, and you walk by and there's a book there. What does a typical person look at? They look at what the book is, the colors, the text, they read it. But what is the typical evolution? Generally speaking, if the cover captures them, the title is there, they'll spend maybe 8-10 seconds looking at the cover. They may look at and read the subtitle. They may look at the artwork on the front. And if it interests them enough to pick it up, they're going to turn it over and look at the back. And this is what we're talking about, enticing the reader. You've caught them with your book and they stopped and they actually picked it up. Now, to continue that enticement, they're going to turn it over and they're going to read the back. And you're going to have a little bit back there about the author. Well, how does this author apply to this particular thing? You know, maybe they've written 20 other books in similar topics. That's not unusual. Maybe the story of this particular one connects with you. So they're really trying to entice you by that back cover. And if they do, you're going to spend maybe 12, 15 seconds on the back cover. You're going to open it up and you're going to fly into the table of contents. Now, one of the things I do is I always go to the copyright date because I want to find out, was this book written in 1956, 2006? When was the book written? I want to have some idea of the currency of it, depending on the genre. And particularly if I'm looking at some book that this author, I've read many of his other books. If this book was written in 2001, chances are I probably read it. I just don't remember it. But if it was written 2021, chances are I have not read it and I'm going to buy it. But they're going to open to the table of contents. And if all it says is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, that doesn't really do anything for somebody. But if the chapter has a name and it says, okay, I really want to know more about chapter 3. Oh, chapter 6. Let me go. So I'm going to go over to page 71 and kind of look and see what's there. They're going to spend maybe 30 seconds between your table of contents and what's in the book. And if they like what they see, even if it may be just a paragraph or two, the higher the risk of them actually buying that book. The chances are very, very good. So that probability goes up the longer they have that book in their hand. Now, maybe they open it up to that chapter and it's not what they're looking for. That's fine. They'll put it back and maybe go look for something else. But that's what we're talking about, enticing the reader. Is this thing relevant to the genre that you're writing in? Almost everything I'm talking about today is going to be nonfiction. So my genre is going to be how-to or autobiography or something to that degree. And relevant to the story is whatever story that we're looking for. Is this relevant? I'm an aviator. I will tend to read more books dealing with aviation than I would with, something dealing with, from a military perspective, tank battles. Not to say I don't, but it's just that's the way I have the tendency to go. So my relevancy is for the story in that one. And the last one on the title, can somebody find it who has no idea this book exists? Now, if your title has one or two words in it, it doesn't tell anybody what it is unless they happen to put those one or two words in. So you have to have something on the title or subtitle that can capture a search engine. Next slide, please. Okay, let's talk about best-selling titles. And I'm going to go and jump into my first thing to share. So if I get this one, share screen, Chrome, and I want to go down to Amazon. Okay, there we go. So share this one. This is your typical Amazon screen. And I come up here and we're going to do books. Come on down to books. And we're just going to do a how-to. How. Oops, good. Typing on the wrong computer again. Not the first time. If I do how-to, and now let's just pick one here. How to talk to anyone. So I come down to that particular one, and I have a bunch of books that pop up. So if I'm looking at, on this particular one, let me get back to my slide. I want to know what titles are already out there. So I have this one, How to Talk to Anyone. Okay. 92 Little Tricks. That's big. Having a number. Tricks is a nice word. Big success, relationships. They're all clicking in the back of the mind. So if I want to go on there and look at what are the top selling books in this category, I click on that book and I'll go down and look at what are the details. Whoops. Okay, this book is number 2 in communication skills. It's number 5 in communication and social skills. And so if I come up here to communication skills, that's what I want to know, how to talk to people. So what are the other books in that particular genre? So I come over here and I clicked on that particular category and I have the number 1 book, Never Split the Difference. Number 3, How to Talk to Anybody. That's where we were at just a moment ago. Crucial Conversations, Powerful Phrases, How to Start Conversations and Make Friends. These are the top books. These are the top 10 books that I'm looking at. Building a Story Brand. You can look at each of these books. You can go inside, look at their table of contents. Let me back up a second. You can look at their descriptions of the books. You can look at the author. You can look at how many pages are in the books, how big the book is, when it was published. You can look at the reviews, how many reviews it got. This one has over 5,000 reviews. 70% of them are 5-star. You look at the keywords that they're using: win friends, eye contact, easy to read, body language, talk to anyone. These are things that to you as a new author are very valuable. And then you can look at what other books people bought. Well, it may not necessarily be something dealing with communicating, but it may be other things that are critical for what you need to do. So this market research is tremendous. And we're going to do a little bit more about that here in just a moment. So let me get back to my stop sharing and back to this. So the market research is something you should be doing all the time. In fact, I'm going to mention that quite a few times there because it's just a key factor before you ever start writing your book. Know what's out there. What are the other people doing? What have they done? The intrigue factor. Does the title intrigue you? How to write your book and publish it for free. Well, if you're on a budget, that might intrigue you a little bit. Discoverability. Maybe there's something in there that you really want to know more about. Maybe you have time now. You never had time before. Relevant and specific. Is it something that you want to know about? And again, not necessarily so much for the nonfiction world, but suspense and curiosity. But it may very well apply. But those are the things that the best-selling titles go through. If I wanted to have a best-selling title, I go into my competitors and I look and I find one that I really like. Titles cannot be copyrighted. You can have the same title as another person. That is not a problem. There's no legal restriction on that. So if you find one that you like, tweak it, make it better, steal it shamelessly. It doesn't matter, but it has to fit what's going to be inside your book. Let's go to the next slide, please. Best-selling titles. What do we expect? Expectations lead to our happiness. If our expectations are met, we're generally happy. When our expectations are not met, we're not so happy. So if our expectation is we want to get answers to things, we want that book to answer those. So if I open the book in the bookstore and I look at the chapters and 5 out of the 12 chapters have things that I want to know about, I want to know more, then that's probably going to be a book I'm going to buy. Generally speaking, best-selling titles are going to be between 8 and 12 words. And that doesn't mean you can't have 3 or 4, but 8 to 12 words is what they consider to be the ideal in the number of words in a title. Now, we have 2 things on our title. We have our title, and then we have our subtitle. So maybe our title is what we want to capture people's attention with big text, but the subtitle tells us what's there. The subtitle is going to tell us all those keywords that we're referring to that people can find by doing a Google search. Sometimes the tone of the title will, how I survived sex trafficking, drug addiction, imprisonment, and made $2 million in whatever. You have a certain tone that the reader's feelings, they're going to be, you're connecting emotionally with them. And that is a big thing because that connection is what you're trying to evoke with the title of your book. Urgency, how to do whatever this is in 3 weeks or less. If I said how to write and publish your book for free in 30 days, yes, that's easy to do. That is not difficult. But if you don't know how to do it, that becomes very difficult because you can go down this path and it's a very long path. It could be years. You could go down this path and maybe months. This path over here, a couple of weeks. But there are paths you can go down, and depending on which tips and which tricks and which methods you use, you could be done with the book in a weekend. Literally, you could be done with it. I'm talking about everything. Then, is a book title entice you just enough to know a little bit more? We talked about that in the first one, expectations. If you need to know a little bit more, let's say you're dealing with SEO in your website, how to get that extra 3 or 4 people a day to visit your website. That may be just all you need to know, just a little bit more. Next slide, please. Okay, Amazon rules. These are things that they don't really tell you, but these are specifics. When you open your author account and you say your book is For Whom the Bell Tolls, just to pick a book, but the actual book cover doesn't agree with that, that they're not going to allow you to print it. They want to make sure that the cover of that book title matches the author account, because that author account pulls everything up into Amazon, and that is where that information is displayed. Your information about how many pages, the description, the author, everything about your book comes from your author account. The exactness has to be there. The exact title and subtitle have to be in your author account. You cannot claim on your book cover, your title, that you're a best-selling author. You may have there as the number 1 best-selling author, but the title can't be there. So that has to be a little bit different. Now, if your title is How to Become a Best-Selling Author, That's one thing. But the actual title itself can't be it. But if you have your name, Dr. JACALYN Kerbeck, best-selling author, that's not a problem. But you can't have in the title best-selling author as part of your title. You can't have in the title discounts and price reductions as part of whatever that title is. Again, it's a restriction they have. You can't reference other people's names or books in your title. Now, there's a way around that, very easy. When you have your banner behind you and you're saying, people who have read this book, this one, or people who love this author will love Randall Laughlin or Dr. JACALYN Kerbeck. You can do that on a banner behind you when you're sitting selling your books, but you can't do that on the title of your book. And absolutely no advertising can be done on your book title either. Let's jump to the next slide, please. This is where we do a little roaming through the books here. So we're going to talk about book titles and then title analyzers. How do you know you have a good book title? And that's what we're going to look at. So let me jump over here into my share mode. And the first place I want to go to is this is one that I use all the time, but you can Google free. I think I'm in the wrong place. Let me jump back for a second over to here. This is Kindlepreneur, but if you typed in Google free book title generators, you're going to get a slew of them. And you can go in there, and each one has a slightly different one. There may be a blog that somebody published a while back. Dave Chesson is very well known in this. But you're going to get, and again, the free is the one. And he's going to come down there. He's going to tell you, how do you come up with the title? And he's going to come down a little bit more. Here's some articles in there. And then what are the actual ones? Well, if you have a fantasy book, maybe I want to come in here and explore. Each one of these is a hot lead, a hot link. Sci-fi, horror, romance, mystery, crime, children's, nonfiction. So if I want to come into this particular one, it says, is this favorite? That's one that you can click on and learn more. If you don't like what's there, go to the next one, the next one, the next one. These are things that can help you. They're there. Just click on them and read. There may be so many things in there you can't even, it's unbelievable. This one was updated literally this past week. So and again, if you're looking for something that was written in 1997, yes, some of it may apply, but it may not. So just be careful. I use this particular site a lot. That's why it comes like Randall Laughlin. It's free. It's called Headline Studio. And it tells me the headline. So if I want to type in my book, my headline, it's going to, so how to write. It's not coming up there. Okay, here's one that I used recently. Clinical trials for new lupus drug have shown stellar results. I click on Analyze, and it's going to give me a number, 66. And you come down here, it's going to give you common mistakes and errors and how emotional it is. But anything over 60, I consider to be a good score, and I'll generally go with it. Let's get out of that one. So when I'm looking for a title and I'm typing something in there, the puzzle of independence of items is becoming clearer. I want to analyze that particular one. I get a score of 58. I'll have to come in here and change something. Maybe becoming is not the word I want. Maybe taking that word out will give me a better score. But I'll keep changing around these things until I have a score. That went down. I may have to come back. But these things give you a major play up in selecting your title. So this is a headline. A title is a headline. Anything. I've had, I think, one title in the 90s. Most of the time I try to get in the 70s. But I'll spend a little bit of time and I'll play back and forth. Maybe I'll change the verb. Maybe I'll change the noun a little bit. I'll juxtapose the parts of it. But those are things that help immensely with regard to tweaking the title or subtitle to make it just a little bit better. But I always try, and there's other ones, maybe 60 on this one is good, a 60 on another one may be great or may not be. And they don't always test the same things. This one tests word balance, word count, character count, headline type. these are things that they're trying to clarity, skimmability, sentiment, but find one that fits well with what you want. Again, keep it free and do that. Another one that's out there, this happens to be a Pinterest one that I picked up. It said, what are the most popular words for book titles? And this one goes down and you look at it. Black, dead, cold, dark, devil. Well, that may be fine for a mystery novel, for thrillers, but what about other types? And here's ones for looks. Any one of these things can be opened up, and you look for what are the words in yours. Now, this particular one here, open up, says, what are the words for speaking? Words that describe voice. And it says breathy, thin, brittle, appealing, fruity. So if you're looking for something to talk about, a word, maybe disembodied, gruff, gravelly, hoarse, may be the one. Go find the words. Word is just as good as anything else out there, and there's lots of sites. Writer Unbox, creating titles that hook. In fact, I think I've already gone into the next one, so I'm going to unshare this for a second, and we're going to go back to our deal. Dr. JACALYN, would you give me the next chapter? Thank you. We just talked about book titles. We can Google those. Again, you can't copyright a book title, so anything out there is fair game. But you have to make sure you can't say Live and Let Die, one of the Bond movies. Yeah, you can. But if your book is about dog grooming, that doesn't make sense. You're trying to use something that's not aligned with your book. Famous phrases. Again, Google famous phrases, book titles. There's just so many of them out there. I think I just did the one now with hooks. So if I come back up here and I want to look at words, okay. Let me share one more time. And hooks. This is where I was at just a second ago. One of the things that we can put in our book title is what's called a hook, something that's going to hook somebody that they're going to, I want to know more. In other words, you come down here, phrases or quotes, descriptions of people, a lot of things can be interesting. And this is what you're going to find when you go to sites like this. 3 things you want to know. I have a little gift for you, which I'll tell you about in a minute. Okay. That's a hook. That's just enough. Okay. A little gift you'll want to know about in a minute. And again, you come on down here. These are labels, not titles. We're talking about one word. So having rabbits as a title of your book, well, if you're raising rabbits, that may be fine, but that's not what the book tells you about. You need to know that the book tells you how to raise rabbits. So better titles are Christina the Astonishing Rabbit, New Bee, whatever. So these are the things when you're looking at hooks. The race goes to the swiftest. Okay, fine. To Kiss in the Shadows. But there may be some other ones out there. Look and spend some time on this before you get too far. Now, it may be that you start writing your book. That's what you wanted to, Readers of the Lost Art. And you find out, well, I've actually gone down a different road. I need to go back and kind of revise that a little bit. So let me stop sharing here for a minute and get back to where we were. So hooks and then relevant keywords. The relevant keywords are the same thing. You go into the market research that I showed you at the beginning in Amazon. Go down where that pile is at and you look at the reviews. And if somebody has 100 or so reviews, they're going to have the words that are most common words that are in that particular book. Those are keywords. Those are the keywords you want to put in your account. And those are the ones that describe the content, because that's what you want. You want to add value to people's lives. You want to be a best-selling author. You have to add a lot more value in that particular case. So make sure that your keywords, somebody else may have a book just like yours, and they may have a chapter or two that they cover, you don't. What are you covering that they do not cover? That's what you want to emphasize. So the relevant keywords, and those are the ones that people will find by doing the Google search. Let's go to the next slide, Dr. JACALYN. Book titles. Again, what benefits or value do you give to the reader. If you want to know how to protect yourself from COVID for whatever, you want to know the benefit, and the benefit can be $1, it could be a time, it can be an enhancement of something you have, more sales. And I'm going to pull up here emotional triggers. So let me come down and share one more time. Emotional triggers. This is a list of emotions, words that express feelings. So if I have anger, irritation, aggravation, annoyance, joy, rapture, triumph, pride, relief. These are words that you can use. Why just stick with something sad? Maybe anguish is a better word. Maybe remorse can be worked into the title. Grief or hopelessness or melancholy. There's so many different words that can fit into it. So you want to evoke that emotion. Let's go back over here a little bit. Okay. You want to evoke that emotion, that hooks the person. So if the title doesn't hook them, the subtitle has to hook them, because that's where you tell people what's in the book. So if the title is Pride and Prejudice, well, it's not how to take pride in what, and the subtitle is probably more key than the title, because that's what's telling people exactly what needs to be done. Sometimes you'll see a little tagline. It's not the title, it's not the subtitle, but it'll be across the top. For people who want to know more about improving their website, or for people who want whatever, it's telling you it's kind of like a subtitle. Don't find it in a lot of books, but generally speaking, some of the best-selling books will have a tagline. Let's jump to the next one, please. Covers. I'm going to take you to one. Cover, is a book judged by its cover? Absolutely. No doubt about it. However, we have a little problem when you're designing your own cover. And this is something that, if you're going to be doing it for free, we'll talk about that in just a very brief second. You are designing it for you. You're not designing it for the reader. I give an example that I went and paid to have 5 covers done with $5 or $10 a piece. I put them on Facebook and I said A or B, B or C, C or D. And the one I liked the best, almost nobody liked. The one I didn't care for, of all of them, I put it up there anyway, is the cover of my best-selling book. It's the reader's choice of what they like, not the author's choice. So if you're sending your book cover to a bunch of other authors, you're getting a similar, they're looking at the book different than the casual reader. You want your in most cases, you want your text left justified. You want to have the contrast with the color and the background. Title fonts. Title fonts are different for titles than they are. You just can't take Times New Roman, put it on the cover, because when you shrink that book down to the size of a postage stamp, you can't read Times New Roman. Generally speaking, they're going to be a lot taller, a lot thinner. Next one, please. You want to have the appropriate color and contrast. If I'm writing on health and wellness, I may want to have blue and green, not red and purple or something. I want to look at if all of the top 10 authors in my genre, in my category, have no pictures of themselves on the cover, and I'm coming out with a picture of myself on the cover, I'm not looking like the best-selling authors. So the cover is very important. That market research, what do the other covers have? Try to emulate those. Images, if you're using an image, make sure it's copyright free. You have the royalty free image, because images, that's a big no-no. So make sure that if you're getting something and you're using it from a royalty free shot, that there's no copyright attached to it. And if you're making a promise, make sure that expectation is met in the book. Don't make a promise to how to lose 20 pounds in 20 days if it's impossible. Target demographic. Am I selling to kids? Am I selling to elderly? Am I selling to entrepreneurs? Who is and is my cover appropriate for that? Next one, please. Now we're just about ready to wrap things up. The back of the cover, this is the part. If the front cover captures them, the back cover is what's going to hook them. The book description, a couple, 3 sentences, 150 words max. The author bio, something that's significant about why that author is qualified to write this book. An author photo sometimes is of value. Testimonials, not needed, but can be there, and generally 1 to 3. And then that decision to go further. Did you hook them enough with what's on the back that they want to know more? Let's go to the next one, please. On the back cover, you're going to have, as a paperback book, and that's the one we're talking about mostly here, you're going to have a PDF format. It's going to go, if you have a 6x9, it's going to be 6.5 inches tall, 9 and 18 plus the width of the spine, and another 1/4 inch on each side. You have to bleed over on that PDF. Now, if you use a cover designer that includes all that, not a problem, because when you put your book into Amazon, they're going to run your cover through a previewer, and it's going to tell you what's missing, and you can go back and fix it. But if you have a spine, the spine depends on how many pages are in the book. So if you have 200 pages in the book, you need to know that that book has to have an extra wide spot in that spine. Now, when you use Amazon Kindle's book cover creators, that's all calculated for you. Don't worry about it. They'll put in the UPC code, that little white space in the bottom of the back cover. There are some templates out there that are free, but look for free back cover designs, free back cover templates. That will help you immensely to get that done. Fiverr is one that I use. They generally supposed to charge about $5 to $10. Most of the time they don't. But again, you get what you pay for. Amazon and Kindle have a free one. Sometimes you can consider yourself, well, $10 is not much. But for our discussion, $10 is probably about as cheap as you're going to get it, unless your neighbor does it or you're somebody in your family. But it is available low cost. Canva, there's a free one. Again, it takes a little mastery, not much, but they have the ability to do it. Google, cover art. You do Google free cover art design. Let me caution you right now. If you wait till your end of the book is done, you've wasted a lot of time. Lead time is critical. I have so many clients that we get the book done and the cover's not done, or we're hassling over something. In some cases, it's literally days. In a few cases, it's weeks. I've had one case that's over a month trying to get the covers done. I had to change a designer because it doesn't matter. We could not communicate with that one. The format of the cover art has to match. If it doesn't match, I will take the cover and put it into a fake contents just to make sure the cover matches, so that I know when I put the real contents into Amazon that it's going to work. If it doesn't work, I have time now to fix it. And if you wait till your book is written to start marketing the book, you've wasted a lot of time. So if you're starting to write chapter 1, start marketing your book. If you have 2 or 3 covers you're interested in doing, throw them out there on social media, send them around to people. It's a good time to start getting feedback on your book. Next one. And this is our last one for today. Book size. Most common, the normal range is 5x8 to 6x9. The most common ones are 5.5 by 8.5 or 6x9. Your page count is how wide the book is. And if you go and find out from what are the best-selling authors, if everybody is 6x9, your book should be 6x9. If they're 7x10, I just finished a cookbook for a client. 7x10, 7x9 are some typical sizes for those kinds of books. So make sure your book fits within the same genre that everybody else is in. And again, market research will tell you exactly what that is. Now, you write your book and you're 300 pages. Maybe you need 2 books. There's just a lot of things out there that you need to consider. The one thing I wanted to cover I didn't was that for an ebook, you need a JPEG format, 1 page, no back. For the paperback book, you need a PDF, and it has to include the front, back, and the spine. And it has to bleed over all the edges. So those are the things that you're looking at with regard to titles and more. And I'm back to Dr. JACALYN.
We make a good team, Red, don't we?
We do. Excellent. I just say doctor and everything happens. I can't believe it.
I learned some additional things from you on there.
I know you had, now.
I know you had told me about the website with the score and it has to be above, but I never actually went to it because you do that for me, which is great. So that was helpful to see that. And also that you can get free covers on Google. Now, a question I have for you is, as you know, for both of my covers, I paid to have them done. So is the quality the same? Like, what's the difference? Why pay money if you don't have to?
The standard is you pay somebody, and the standard running rate is, I'm going to say, for a inexpensive designer, a couple $300 to over 1,000. That is not unusual. I think you can probably find a range of 500 to 800. And again, you're paying for somebody who's going to take what you want, your emotional involvement in what your product is going to be, and give you something that represents that. It's his intellectual property, and that intellectual property is going to translate into color, contrast, font size, font type, alignment, background images, all of those things. That's what that person does for a living. So that is something that you're buying, as opposed to you saying, well, this person over here will do it for $10. Well, they're maybe learning the skill. They may have a lot of skill. You may not have a lot to need right now. You can change the cover of your book anytime you want. You don't have to stick with the same cover. You can come back 2 months after your book's out and say, I don't like. In fact, a lot of them do. They'll come out and they'll change the color on their book. They'll change the image. They'll do a lot of things to find out how to sell more books by changing the cover. So you're not locked in because you have one cover. So you put the book out there for a couple. I know you've done it where you change the categories, and that's a category that matches my sales a lot better than another category. You're not stuck with everything. So put the book out, see what happens, change it, see what happens, change it again, see what happens. But inside Amazon and Kindle, you can actually create your own book covers, and they give you a very wide range of what you can do. You can do that yourself. Make 2 or 3 of them, send them out, see what people think. And you're going to, I just voted on one yesterday on Facebook, and it must have been 100 people. I chose number 2. And when I went down it, almost nobody chose number 1. So there was something about number 2 between the choices that made that. Now that person may come back later, and that number 2 will be a new number 1, and they'll compare it against another one. But at least you've given some reassurances to people that that's good. It's what's your budget? If you have a budget for $1,000 for design, go for it. If you have a budget for $50 for design, Fiverr.com may be good. Or if you have a friend who will do it for whatever, it all depends on your personal taste, but more importantly on your budget.
All right. Thank you for clearing that up. I appreciate it. That was another lesson chock full of fabulous information for people to get their book published for free. So thank you so much. What's on tap for next week?
Let's see. Next week. Had it here just a moment ago. There we go. Writing options. We're going to talk about how do you actually write the book. There are some really simple ways that you can be done in a weekend or two. There's some very complicated ways that can add a lot of dimension and organization to the book. That'll take a little bit longer, but it'll be very complete and will not be overly hard to do. And then there's some other ways where you just sit down there and you start typing, and heaven only knows when you'll be done, because as they say in Alice in Wonderland, when you don't know which road you're going to go on, any road will get you there. So you got to know your destination. It's one of those things that what do you want? But if you don't know, and that's what this program's all about, awareness, education, giving you the knowledge to make really good decisions.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And I've got your banner up that also includes the red.o'laughlin@gmail.com information. So Red, do you have any availability to take on more clients?
I have a client right now that has a mandatory pre-sale date that has to be met. And so that's my primary one. Until that one is done, I'm not taking on any new clients, but in about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I should be able to start talking to somebody seriously about taking them on as a client. But if you want to figure out that today is almost the 1st of April, figure by the end of April, a couple weeks after Easter, yes, I'll be looking at people. So spend the first couple of weeks of Easter getting your first couple of weeks of April, getting your income tax done, enjoy Easter, and then call me.
Would that client be me?
It's a
I'm the one
very
holding him up, folks. Sorry.
it's a very important client. High visibility, high maintenance client.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that dedication and loyalty. So, another great show. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to chatting with you backstage.
I look forward to it too. Take care, Dr.
Okay,
Jack.
thanks. Well, folks, that was our last show for today. And this week has been filled with incredible content. So I hope you go over to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, and click subscribe. You can also watch our shows on our website, which is usaglobaltv.com. If you'd like to be a guest on any of our shows, please go and book your session on usaglobaltv.com. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate each and every single one of you who watches our show on the live or on the replay, or if you're listening on Business Talk Radio. Please help us spread the word. We are a global platform, and we have people from all over the world. We have all different time zones, people coming, sharing their stories that are truly inspiring. And this is all about what we are here at USA Global TV, supporting people, providing motivation, encouragement, and hope. All right. God bless you all. See you tomorrow. Bye.